Fame doesn't always bring fortune and often hides the darkest truths. Behind the smiles of Hollywood stars and cultural icons lie stories of shocking betrayal, addiction, mysterious deaths, and ruined lives. These aren't just tragedies, they're scandals that rocked the world. From suspicious overdoses to deadly secrets and government conspiracies, here are 10 real-life stories from the 20th century that remain as haunting as they are unforgettable. Number 1. The sad spiral of Judy Garland, a star devoured by Hollywood. Judy Garland, born Frances Ethelgum on June 10, 1922, became a household name after starring as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. But the glitter of Hollywood masked a harrowing reality. MGM executives gave her amphetamines to keep her energy up and sleeping pills to counteract the effects. "They had us all on drugs," Garland would later confess. "They gave us pep pills. Then they'd take us to the studio hospital and knock us out with sleeping pills." The studio also scrutinized her weight, leading to lifelong body image issues. She was called fat as a teen and forced into strict diets. Garland married 5 times, suffered multiple nervous breakdowns, and attempted suicide at least 20 times. Her financial life was equally chaotic. Despite her fame, she was often broke due to bad management and extravagant spending. On June 22, 1969, she was found dead in her London bathroom at age 47 from an accidental barbiturate overdose. Rumors swirled about whether it was truly accidental. Her funeral drew thousands, and fans remember her as both magical and deeply wounded. Her daughter, Liza Minnelli, once said, "My mother was a walking wounded." She was a survivor, but only for a time. Number 2. Montgomery Clift, Hollywood's most beautiful tragedy. Edward Montgomery Clift, known for his roles in A Place in the Sun and From Here to Eternity, was one of the brightest stars of the 1950s. Born on October 17, 1920, Clift was a Broadway prodigy by age 14 and a film heartthrob by 28. But he lived in constant inner torment, grappling with his sexuality in an era when homosexuality was not just taboo, it was career-ending. On May 12, 1956, Clift's life changed forever when he crashed his car after leaving a party at Elizabeth Taylor's house. His face was shattered. Taylor was reportedly the first to reach him, pulling 2 teeth from his throat to prevent him from choking. Though he returned to acting, Clift's appearance changed drastically, and his emotional scars ran even deeper. He became dependent on alcohol and painkillers. His friend, actor Kevin McCarthy, once said, "Monty's the only man I know who's in constant psychic pain." By the 1960s, his career was in decline, and he was blacklisted for being difficult. On July 23, 1966, he died of a heart attack at just 45. The official cause, occlusive coronary artery disease, but many close to him believed his death was the culmination of years of self-destruction and societal repression. Number 3. Dorothy Kilgallen, the mysterious death of a Kennedy critic. Dorothy Kilgallen, born July 3, 1913, was a renowned journalist and panelist on the popular TV show What's My Line? But she was also one of the few mainstream reporters investigating the JFK assassination, and her sudden death remains one of the most enduring mysteries of the 1960s. By 1965, Kilgallen had publicly doubted the official story that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. She claimed to have interviewed Jack Ruby privately and hinted at government involvement. "I'm going to break the real story wide open," she reportedly told friends. But on November 8, 1965, she was found dead in her Manhattan townhouse, seated upright in bed, fully dressed, with a book on her lap. The autopsy said she died of acute ethanol and barbiturate intoxication, but several oddities fueled conspiracy theories. The original notes from her JFK investigation vanished, as did the transcript of her interview with Ruby. Her husband claimed he never saw her bring the barbiturates home. Some suspect she was silenced by people connected to the Warren Commission or CIA. Mark Shaw, who investigated her life, called it the most convenient death in history. Officially ruled accidental, her death has never been reinvestigated. Number 4. The final fall of Frances Farmer, madness, abuse, and the asylum years. Frances Farmer was once considered one of Hollywood's brightest stars, often praised for her stunning performances in Come and Get It, 1936, and Rhythm on the Range, 1936. Born on September 19, 1913, in Seattle, she was also a committed intellectual who clashed constantly with the Hollywood system. Her refusal to conform to studio expectations led to a brutal smear campaign and personal collapse. Farmer's mental health declined in the 1940s. After a series of erratic outbursts, she was institutionalized at the Western State Hospital in Washington. The true horror began there. According to her later accounts and those from biographers, she was subjected to electroshock therapy, insulin shock treatments, and even rumored to have undergone a transorbital lobotomy, though no medical proof exists. Perhaps most horrifying were the unverified but widely circulated allegations that Farmer was repeatedly raped by orderlies. A haunting quote often attributed to her reads, "If a person is treated like a patient, they are apt to act like one." Though she was released in the 1950s and attempted a television comeback, her spirit never fully recovered. She died of esophageal cancer on August 1, 1970, at age 56. While some dispute the darkest rumors, her life became a symbol of how the entertainment industry and mental health system could destroy a woman who refused to be tamed. Number 5. Marvin Gaye, killed by his own father on the eve of resurrection. Marvin Gaye, born April 2, 1939, was a Motown legend whose voice defined a generation. What's Going On, Let's Get It On, and Sexual Healing are just a few of his enduring hits. But behind the smooth vocals and sensual stage presence was a man tormented by personal demons and a violent upbringing. His father, Marvin Gaye Sr., was a strict Pentecostal minister who beat his children and resented Marvin's success and fame. Their relationship was toxic. Marvin Jr. once said, "My father never liked me. And I never trusted him." After battling depression, drug addiction, and tax issues, Gaye moved in with his parents in Los Angeles in early 1984 while trying to recover. On April 1, 1984, just one day before his 45th birthday, an argument between father and son exploded. Marvin Sr. shot his son twice with a pistol Marvin Jr. had given him for protection. The first bullet pierced Marvin's heart. He died instantly. The world was stunned. Gaye's father was sentenced to a suspended 6-year term and 5 years of probation. His justification? "I didn't mean to do it." Marvin's funeral drew Stevie Wonder, Smokey Robinson, and thousands of grieving fans. His tragic death immortalized him as a symbol of both brilliance and deep familial destruction. Number 6. The grisly end of George Reeves, Superman or Suicide Cover-Up? George Reeves, forever known as TV's first Superman, soared in American living rooms during the 1950s. But off-screen, his life was far from heroic. Born January 5, 1914, Reeves starred in Adventures of Superman from 1952 to 1958. Despite his fame, he struggled with being typecast and battled depression over his declining career. Reeves was also caught in a tangled love affair with Toni Mannix, wife of powerful MGM executive Eddie Mannix. When he broke things off with Toni and became engaged to another woman, Lenore Lemon, things took a dark turn. On June 16, 1959, Reeves was found dead in his bedroom with a gunshot wound to the head. Police ruled it a suicide, citing his depression. But the circumstances were strange. No fingerprints were found on the gun. Witnesses in the house claimed to have heard multiple shots. Lemon reportedly said, moments before the shot, "He's going to shoot himself." The other guests didn't call police for nearly an hour. Rumors swirled that Eddie Mannix, known for alleged ties to the mob, had Reeves killed out of jealousy or revenge. Theories ranged from accidental shooting to planned murder. Though officially ruled a suicide, many remain convinced that Superman's final fall was no accident. Number 7. The Haunting of Natalie Wood, a Death at Sea Surrounded by Secrets. Natalie Wood, born July 20, 1938, captivated audiences from a young age in classics like Rebel Without a Cause and West Side Story. But her tragic death in 1981 remains one of Hollywood's most enduring and unsettling mysteries. On November 29, 1981, Wood was on a yacht near Catalina Island with her husband Robert Wagner, actor Christopher Walken, and the ship's captain, Dennis Davern. Sometime in the night, Wood vanished from the boat. Her body was found hours later, floating in the water, bruised and wearing a nightgown and down jacket. The dinghy was nearby, untethered. At the time, the death was ruled an accident, drowning caused by slipping while trying to board the dinghy. But many didn't buy the official story. Wagner initially claimed he was asleep, but later admitted they had argued. Davern alleged in later interviews that Wagner had been furious about Wood and Walken's closeness. He even claimed Wagner delayed calling for help. In 2011, the case was reopened. In 2018, Robert Wagner was officially named a person of interest in her death, though he has denied any wrongdoing. The cause of death was changed to drowning and other undetermined factors. Decades later, the truth behind Natalie Wood's last night remains elusive and deeply suspicious. Number 8. The disintegration of Brian Wilson, genius, drugs, and psychological control. Brian Wilson, the creative force behind the Beach Boys, revolutionized pop music with his groundbreaking work on Pet Sounds and Good Vibrations. Born June 20, 1942, Wilson's genius was undeniable, but so was his instability. As early as the mid-1960s, he began experiencing auditory hallucinations and extreme paranoia. By 1967, he had withdrawn from touring and was staying in bed for weeks at a time, consumed by fear and depression. What followed was a nightmarish descent into dependency. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, Wilson was heavily medicated by Dr. Eugene Landy, a controversial therapist who took control of Wilson's finances, career, and even diet. Landy required round-the-clock surveillance of Wilson and kept him isolated from friends and family. He was like my Svengali, Wilson later admitted. Landy even co-wrote songs and tried to claim songwriting royalties. Wilson's physical and mental health deteriorated under this regime. He gained excessive weight, became nearly incoherent, and lost touch with reality. His bandmates and family eventually took legal action, and in 1991, a court ruling stripped Landy of all contact with Wilson. Although Wilson later recovered partially and returned to music, the damage was profound. His story remains one of the most tragic examples of a musical genius manipulated, drugged, and nearly destroyed under the guise of help. Number 9. The fall of Jean Seberg, FBI harassment and a fatal breakdown. Jean Seberg was a Hollywood darling and French New Wave icon, known for Breathless, 1960, and her striking beauty. Born in Iowa on November 13, 1938, she seemed to live a fairy tale life. But behind her rise to fame was a story of intense psychological destruction, largely orchestrated by the U.S. government. In the late 1960s, Seberg supported civil rights causes, including the Black Panther Party. That made her a target of the FBI's COINTELPRO program, which sought to discredit activists and their supporters. In 1970, the FBI planted a fake story in the media claiming that Seberg was pregnant with the child of a Black Panther, not her husband, Romain Gary. The story was published in Newsweek, causing irreparable damage. Seberg, then 7 months pregnant, went into premature labor. Her baby girl died 2 days later. At the funeral, Seberg reportedly opened the coffin to prove the child was white. She never recovered from that, her ex-husband would say. Plagued by paranoia, depression, and substance abuse, Seberg attempted suicide multiple times. On August 30, 1979, her decomposing body was found in the backseat of her car in Paris, with a bottle of barbiturates and a suicide note. The FBI never apologized. Number 10. The dark despair of Kurt Cobain, music, fame, and a violent end. Kurt Cobain, born February 20, 1967, in Aberdeen, Washington, exploded onto the global stage in the early 1990s as the frontman of Nirvana. With hits like Smells Like Teen Spirit and Come As You Are, Cobain defined grunge and became the reluctant voice of a generation. But behind the stage persona was a deeply tormented man battling depression, drug addiction, and fame he never wanted. Cobain's marriage to Courtney Love was chaotic and drug-fueled, and their daughter, Frances Bean, was briefly taken from their custody due to reports of heroin use during pregnancy. By 1994, Cobain had overdosed multiple times and fled a rehab facility. On April 8, 1994, Cobain's body was found in his Seattle home, dead from a shotgun wound to the head, with a high concentration of heroin in his system. A suicide note was left behind, addressed partly to his childhood imaginary friend and partly to Love and Francis. "It's better to burn out than to fade away," he quoted from Neil Young. Despite the official ruling of suicide, persistent rumors and conspiracy theories claim foul play, many involving Courtney Love. To this day, Cobain's death remains shrouded in suspicion. His legacy is immense, but his end was one of rock's most tragic and unsettling finales.